Well, welcome back in, everybody, to the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. My name is Sam Hind, and I am so excited about today's episode because I have pulled in a very, very special person who's going to have a bit of a chat to us, not only about how she's built her business, but also about some of the amazing skills that each and every one of us knows we have to hone in direct selling. But a lot of us really struggle with it, and that is networking. How to talk about our business, when to talk about our business, and how to make it appropriate for the time, the place, the person. So I have brought in today the amazing Wendy Lloyd Curley. Now,
Hello.
Wendy is Regional Vice President of PartyLite Australia. But this is actually not where I originally met Wendy. I had the pleasure of meeting Wendy at a BNI meeting. And Wendy is also a member and a director in BNI, which is a networking organisation. Wendy, hello and welcome on in. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. This is one of my favorite topics and one of the ones that I know people struggle with. So it's really exciting to chat about it.
Fantastic. And what I love so much about you, and the reason I'm excited to have you in here today, is that not only are you a pro networker, because this is what BNI is all about, business networking. What does it stand for? Business
International. Yeah.
International. Thank you. You're so close. And so you are not only an expert networker and you've honed those skills, but you are also not just a direct seller, but you have been in the direct selling industry for, tell us a little bit about your history in PartyLite.
All right. So, well, my history with PartyLite is longer than my consultancy with PartyLite. So 15 years ago, I became a consultant, but it was back in 1996. So that's a good 24 years ago that I went to my first candle party. And that introduced me to a life that I had not been introduced to before, where you light candles and enjoy fragrance and light and relaxation. And that really drew me in. So for 9 years, I was a customer, which I think a lot of us probably relate to, being a customer first, being a fan, and then wanting to share it with others. That was really my reason for becoming a consultant, was to share it. I really wanted the company to be successful so that I would have a supplier. The more people knew about the product and the brand, the more likely it was that the brand would stay in Australia. So I was really excited about that.
You felt responsible for keeping them here. I love that.
Oh, I did. I felt like the more I could buy, the better. So the more I could sell actually would probably help. So
that's so good. And look, they're still here. So you did it.
Yay.
And so, I know this isn't what we're going to talk about today, but I'm just curious, at what point did your business transition from being, hey, I just want to share this product with people, to this is actually a viable business and I really want to grow this?
That took about 3 years for me. And that's because at the same time I started my direct selling business, I also went off on my own and started my own company, completely separate to PartyLite and to my corporate background. So my corporate background was in IT or telecommunications. And I was pretty high level marketing in that environment, business to business, really high stress, high involvement with the company. And when I left that, I wanted to start off and do my own thing. So for 3 years, I ran both simultaneously. I didn't think about my PartyLite business as a business yet, though. So after about 2.5 years of doing both, I recognized something. The business I was trying to start was requiring an awful lot of work and needed a tremendous amount more, not only money, but sweat equity, putting it in. And it was going to be a hard slog. And my PartyLite business was doing well, and I wasn't even trying. And I really thought to myself at that point, I'm a leader now. I'm still working really part-time on it. I wonder what could happen if I worked more full-time on it. And it was a very difficult decision to make to stop doing the other business because I really had my heart invested in it.
Yeah.
But in the end, it is the best decision I could have made. It was a difficult one, but really powerful for me.
Yeah.
So it's been 12 years of what I've called full-time work, but let's be honest, I don't work completely full-time all the time.
No, and what I've really learned from our conversations, and I've had the pleasure of being able to come in and do a little bit of training with your PartyLite team as well, which has been really beautiful. But the thing I notice about you is that you really are passionate about the people that you serve in the business as well, and your customers you're so passionate about. I attended one of your parties in amongst, as lots of people would know, the 60 parties that we did in 30 days that Greg knows about. And so yours was one of those. And I do remember that when I got to that point of ordering, you went through a process of really, how can I be serving Sam best? How can I be providing her with a product that she's going to really like? And you even steered me away from certain things that you thought, let's just feel you out and see if this is what you're going to like. So there's such a care factor in there that I really appreciate in you. And I imagine that's how you've grown your business so well.
I think it is. I think one of the things I learned, and this is in my corporate job, I learned this before I left. We had a really fantastic speaker come in once to give us some leadership training. One of the things that I learned how to do, which I suppose I may have known before, but I didn't really think about it very much, is active listening.
Yep.
And so they exposed me to that as a concept. And when I started selling PartyLite, I have to say that the responsibility I felt to the guests was pretty powerful because I didn't always like going to network marketing parties because I never felt really listened to.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was the thing that bothered me the most about it, was I was being presented to but not listened to.
Yeah.
And so one of the things I've integrated into my party performance, I suppose, is interaction with the audience and asking them for their stories and their information. And also a sales skill that I suppose I've picked up along the way is to draw people in and make them want more product than and not to sell that to them, but instead to really give them a consultation. I am indeed an independent PartyLite consultant, so I consider myself a consultant, not a salesperson, and that really pays dividends in the end.
Yeah, I love that. So good. And so that sort of brings us to what we're talking about today, because a conversation and how to start that and when to have it and who to have it with. This is something I thought would be a really, really great conversation to have with you, because you have, not only have you honed the skill of networking, but you are heavily involved in an organization that is in itself networking. Now, you and I are both very familiar with this because I'm also currently president of a very similar organization here in Tassie, but it is by no means as professional and as big as the organization that you're involved in. And I know that you have spent many years honing these skills. So I'd love to chat with you a little bit about networking, because it's a scary thing. A lot of people in this industry in direct selling know that networking is a really important part of what we do. And you guys have heard me harp on about building relationships and nurturing people. But I get asked a lot, how do I start the conversation? How do I do it so it's not cheesy and it's not tacky? And this conversation, as I said to you, Wendy, before we got in, this could go anywhere. Any of our podcasts could go anywhere. We often end up talking about all sorts of crazy things. But let's kick it off there and see where this goes.
Oh, I'm like so many thoughts in my brain, but I would like to start with a problem that I ran into when I walked into BNI. So first of all, I had been a PartyLite consultant for 6 years, and I was a very successful leader. I think I'd made the third level up in our leadership structure. So I was feeling pretty confident about myself. And I had met some people in this organization, in this group in particular, that I really liked. And I sort of invited myself, because I don't think many people thought about a network marketer and said, oh, let's invite her. So I think I invited myself to go. And of course, because we are network marketers, our job is to go and meet people, to reach out to them, to grow our teams, really. Like, really, to make money out of network marketing, it's not about selling product. It's about growing your team so that you sell more product.
Yeah.
That's the kind of concept I was going in. Now, I walked in and I had a great time. I knew a lot of people. I was surprised to be awake at that hour of the morning, to
Yeah,
be
it's
honest.
early in the morning, right?
It's really early. And I said, I will not be joining this group because I'm a candle lady. Let's be
I
clear.
remember saying the same thing, and 4 years later.
Exactly. So here I am 9 years later, and I get up every Thursday morning at about 4:45 so that I look this good. Sorry. Anyway, I went in, and I think the next week I came back and I decided I'm going to apply. This seems like it'd be really good for my business. And I read the terms and conditions, and I was gutted, absolutely destroyed, because my whole idea was that I was going to go to meet new people to join my team. And I was really going to focus the networking on recruitment and the parties on sales.
Yeah.
And one of the rules, the very last rule in the guidelines, is that network marketers shall promote the products and services that they sell, but not the business opportunities.
Ooh.
And I went, well, why join? What's the point? That was the whole idea, was to spend, like, because it costs a lot of money to be involved with a group this size and of this caliber. And I was, oh, what am I going to do? In the end, it was the best advice I could have gotten. I take it to this day. I have to draw people in through the products and services and the relationships, and then let the business opportunity draw in.
Yeah.
Now, there are,
gold.
for me, that was gold. Now, there are other people who are very successful at leading with the business opportunity, and I don't want to downplay that at all. There's certainly seminars I can do on the business opportunity without leading with the product. But my advice would still be for anybody that the passion about the product and the service that we offer is so important to the story, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I love that you bring that point up, because this is something that I was having a conversation with the director of a direct selling company a couple of days ago. And she said, look, we really want to be recruiting more people. So what strategies could we be using in this space? And I said, let's go back and let's have a little bit of a look at patterns. Let's have a look at, where have your best leaders come from over the years? And what was absolutely hands down, clearly obvious in every case, was that those leaders that not only led the business but stuck with it for years and years and years were the ones that began as a customer, because they became advocates for the product. And it's not necessarily that all of them go into some of them do lead with the business opportunity now. That's how they grow their business. But they themselves started as customers, as lovers of the product. And that means as well that it's easier for to keep them in the business too, because those people are now focused on, I love the product, how do I grow my business around that? Rather than, oh, I love the business idea. What's the product again? Tell me about that. So I love that. And I think we know so many customers convert down the track. So I'm not going to ask you how many of the BNI members you've converted into team, because we could get in trouble with that one. But I would love to know a little bit now about networking. What would be your greatest? You said you've got a whole lot of ideas rattling through your head as we got talking just then, but I'd love to know a little bit about, some of your tips when it comes to, even, the first conversation you have with someone when they ask you, hey, Wendy, what do you do? How do you even have that conversation? How does that happen?
Absolutely. So this is something that I want to turn that around and then answer that question, because when you go to a networking experience, often we go to a networking experience in order to grow our businesses. Mm-hmm. So we walk in with the mindset of, I need to get my point across, and we're dying to get that information out. Yeah. So we're going without an active listening mindset, but instead with an active presenting mindset. Mm-hmm. So think about my philosophy and how that's really been honed over time. Now I go to networking events with an active listening experience. I'm working to listen for opportunities to help these people in any opportunity that I can. It may be through my business,
Mm-hmm.
or it may be through introducing them to someone else who can help them. So I definitely go to networking opportunities completely in a different mindset than most people. Ivan Meisner is the founder of BNI, and he has the philosophy, and he's ingrained it in all 250,000 members. Our overriding philosophy is givers gain. We will gain by giving, and that's from an active listening mindset. And so that's number one. So when I go and I am talking to people, I'm asking them questions. Now, if I'm lucky, they'll ask me questions back. So in order to extrude that question to begin with, I think I have to be an interested listener.
Yep.
So the conversation doesn't start with, do you like candles? The conversation starts with, how are you? And where were you earlier today? Unless it's 6 a.m. and then it's,
You know
who
the
invited.
answer.
Yeah. So who invited you today? I got invited by, this person, or it's really just starting a conversation. And yes, you could ask about the weather or complain about it or do something, but really I like to do something that's going to help me find out more about them.
Sure.
Have you been to one of these before? What was your experience? Are you a member of any other networking groups? Because I'm always interested in finding out more about them. So those are the sorts of opening questions that I might ask.
Yeah.
And then that leads you down a path. And when they ask you, so I like to ask them what they do. And it is, of course, there's a strategy to it. It is so that hopefully they start to ask me what I do. But I am never answering what I do. Here's another really key learning I've brought. I never answer that as if they would be my customer.
Mm-hmm.
This is gold to me, because when a direct seller starts selling to me right away, I close up.
Yeah,
I
don't we all?
really close up. They might talk about my complexion, or talk about my diet, or talk about energy, or talk about whatever. And I've not shared with them that I have any problem with anything,
Yeah.
or that I need cooking equipment, or that I do whatever. Like, they don't know me yet. So instead, I talk about my ideal target market. And you and I have talked about
Mm-hmm.
my ideal target market. So I love to talk about that when people ask me what I do. And it's absolutely gold for me to not be selling to them, but instead, in a sense, I'm training them on who might be a good referral. And that's
Now,
something I've learned again through BNI. So,
and I'm really glad you brought that up.
I have an itchy
Because
nose, by the way.
yes,
Sorry.
I do that every time I do a podcast or I do a webinar recording. I'm like, my nose itches.
Yeah.
I've had to start ignoring it, and it does eventually go away. But we've you'll often see me sitting there doing this.
Yeah.
So you've just talked about something, or brought up something that we've talked about a few times, and I'm just going to say, like, Wendy is my lady for this very reason, because I asked her, as I do when I chat with anyone for the very first time. We actually got connected. It was really funny. I didn't mention this at the start, but how long ago did we meet? Maybe 3 months ago.
3 months ago. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it was sort of at the beginning of when we started doing all of these parties. Essentially, I said, I want to do a PartyLite party. Does anyone know anyone? Now, Sandy, who actually I did a podcast episode with her a couple of months ago as well. And Sandy Canton said, I've got this lady you've got to meet. I was like, oh, this sounds great. So she said, look, what I'm going to do, I'm going to connect you with Wendy, who is a pro at she knows who her target market is. She knows exactly who her perfect customer is. You need to meet her. And I was like, this sounds great. I'm looking forward to this. About an hour later, I'm having a conversation with Roland, who is my vice president in my networking group here. Yeah. And Roland says to me, I'm going to connect you with this lady I know in Sydney. We're not even located, guys, in the same state. We are like Wendy is on the mainland. We're in the island off, over here somewhere. And Roland says, I've got this lady I've got to introduce you to. Her name is Wendy. And I was like, what's her last name? And he was like, Lloyd Curley. And I was like, there can't be many Wendy Lloyd Curleys out there, right? So within an hour, I've had 2 random people, not connected at all, tell me I had to meet you. So it was fate. But what I did love was that very first conversation that you and I had was I said to you, do you know who your ideal customer is? And you instantly went, yep. And you told me who it was. So can you share that with us today?
It is a woman who's university educated, 35 to 65 years of age. She has 2 kids. She organizes all of her friends, and she loves the sound of a cork popping.
I love that. I love that so much. So this is what you educate people on, because you're helping people to help find for you your perfect customer. Now, when you are doing any content for your Facebook, do you take that person into account?
Always, always. I write to a person, and then it will absolutely just go through. I usually think of one of the consultants on my team, or someone who I want to be a consultant on my team, and I write specifically for them. So I have a customer, I'll say her name because it doesn't really matter. I'll just say Jessica, because Jessica is my go-to name. And a customer, Jessica, and I will literally think about what I would want to say specifically to Jessica, and that's what goes onto the Facebook post.
Yep.
And because my target market is that older demographic, 35 to 65, the perfect platform for me is Facebook. It's not Insta. Yep. I have a very visual product, and I do use Instagram, but I don't use it the way that it could and should be used for marketing, because I have a different target market than other people, even in PartyLite.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting. You can and should, I can't say this enough to people, you can have a niche market within a party plan business. You can be a wedding expert. You can be a bridal shower expert. You can be a essential services expert. You can say, I focus on people who provide essential services. It doesn't matter, as long as you're passionate and you know who they are, you will get the rest.
Yep.
Don't get me wrong.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, I get the 25-year-old single girls who've never graduated from high school, and the ones who are doctoral program people, and I get the people with no kids like me, and I get all kinds of people. Like, I get men. I have so many men in my client base and on my team, even though my target market is very specifically women.
Yep.
By being specific.
Yeah, I love this. This is what we've been trying to drill in. By getting specific, you're not alienating people. You're going to attract more, because they get that you are an expert at the people that you deal with. And that Jessica, and by the way, I love that you've named her. I encourage everyone out there, when you identify your ideal customer, name them, because then you can think to yourself, what would Jessica want? What would Jessica think? How would Jessica like me to tell her about this? If I was sitting across from Jessica in a cafe having a coffee with her, how would I tell her about this new product? Or how would I explain this to her? Or how would I even bring it up? But the fact that you're getting specific with Jessica simply means Jessica will feel like you're speaking directly to her, and everybody else is going to be drawn to the fact that you are clear in your messaging. I love that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And it makes them want to, also when I'm explaining that to someone new, so I'm at a networking opportunity and I'm explaining who my ideal market is and that these are the type of people, then they come up with all of the people who are either in that and they go, oh my gosh, my mother would love that, or my sister would love that, or my best friend, or don't tell my wife. I love it when they say, don't tell my wife that. Yeah. I say, I am absolutely going to tell your wife. And I'd love your
Greg's nodding right now? He's like, yeah.
Absolutely. Do not tell my wife. I love that one. I say, oh, she is in now. I'm going to find her in the phone book. And so as I talk to those people, they either find that they know who I'm looking for, Or they start asking me about other people who are on the fringe. Like, so what about yoga instructors or hair studios or whatever? And I'm like, oh, well, yeah, I could probably work. No, you know, I talk then about how I work with them and how they work with my target market. So
Yeah.
it always brings the fringe in. They want to
Yeah.
be part of my world because I've told them my world is like this, but they're like, well, what about that? And I go, oh, well, I could probably do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I swear I did not tell Wendy to say that just then, guys. I'm so excited that you've just covered off on that so beautifully, because this is what we've been constantly saying to people is you are not alienating people. Please stop thinking that by getting specific, you're going to alienate anyone. You're actually going to grow your business further. We're not going to go down that rabbit warren again, because we've done that many times in the last few weeks. But what I do want to talk to you just a little bit more is the networking side of things and that conversation. So I'm going to put you on the spot here and ask you a question. And we didn't prepare for this, so I could get in trouble. But if you, let's just say you're at a barbecue and you don't know anyone there, your sister or your friends invited you in, and you're like you're that new person, and you rock up, and it's a casual event, and your family and your connections to your friend are there, and you start having preliminary conversations with people. Hey, how you doing? How's the weather? Who are you? How do you know the person that invited us in? How do you, when they say to you, what do you do? How do you have that conversation then with them? And how do you introduce your PartyLite business at that point in a casual setting?
Oh, it's a great question. And again, this may be controversial, but I'm direct.
I love controversial. Bring it on.
I'm direct. I tell them that I am in a direct consumer to consumer business, direct selling.
Yeah.
That I sell the most beautiful candles and fragrances in the world, usually through parties or direct connections. And that I work mostly from home, and that I've done it for about 15 years. I just answer. I tell them it's I may say it's PartyLite, but often I'll say I'm known as Wendy the Candle Lady.
Which you are.
Which I am, absolutely. So I answer it very directly, and I don't say things like, and this is the controversial part, I change people's lives, or I give people freedom, or anything vague. Vague irritates me. I listen to vague and I go, oh God, here we go. Instead, I'm very direct. And again, I attribute that to B&I. I sell products and services first. Business opportunities and lifestyle come with that. And they get the lifestyle even when they only buy the products and services.
Yep.
So
I love that. So good. And see, the thing that I notice about that too is you step in without the fear, because I know, look, let's not sugarcoat it. There has been, some negativity, and there's a lot of stereotypes around direct selling over the years. I really feel that we're coming out the other side of that now. I feel like we are redefining, and you're going to laugh at this, but we are redefining network marketing. You've heard Sandy and I talk about her group redefining network marketing, but the point is that I really feel this industry is being redefined from a place where it did have a lot of negativity, and it's been associated with pyramid selling and things like that, which it definitely isn't anymore. Well, in fact, direct selling never has been.
Correct.
But the point is that what I'm finding is that we're becoming more and more confident to come out and tell people about it, because people are much more interested when they know, and this is the key, when they know that if I show some interest to Wendy right now, if I ask her more questions, is she going to ram it down my throat, or is she just going to let me ask questions and let me approach her? And the thing I loved about your description just then was that at no point did you make them feel like they had to step in. You just gave them the information and then you left it with them, so they can choose to ask you more questions. But you don't sort of go, hey, have you ever heard of PartyLite before? Or, have you ever owned a PartyLite candle? Because that, of course, makes the person go, oh, here we go.
Sometimes I will ask them. There is an opening question. And you can usually see if you should ask it. Do you like candles? You know, I can always ask that at the end.
You can definitely ask that at the end.
And I do. Do you like candles? Yes, I do. Great. Then we'll get along just fine. See, that's the other thing. I don't start to sell right away.
I love that.
You talked at the very beginning about relationships. Networking is not about selling. Networking is different. And networking is about developing relationships and helping people. Networking is about truly creating a web of people that can support each other.
Yep.
And so going out and meeting people and creating a reputation for being a connector is what has made me successful. It helps me get referrals from people when the right people present.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I have sponsored people within my network. Absolutely. They have identified themselves as my target market or close enough to it, and they've pulled themselves in.
Yeah.
And that's the way I like to do my business. I'm not saying that that happens by chance or isn't proactive. My networking skill is completely proactive, and I'm responsible for the results. And that's important too, is that by putting myself out there and by gardening rather than hunting, by tilling the soil, planting the seed, watering it. It can it happen quickly? Sure, it can. You're still gardening. And if you're doing it with the right intentions of growing a really nice garden that is actually of plants that are going to last a long time. It's not planting corn, which you're going to harvest each year and have to replant. It's actually planting fruit trees that are going to get stronger and bear more fruit year after year after year.
I love that. So good. What a great analogy. Can I steal that one?
It's yours. I stole it from someone else.
Great. We'll just pass it on. So just before, because we want to talk about the wax files in a little minute, but just before we do that, I want to just ask you the question from the perspective of somebody who is not a natural born networker, somebody who has come into a direct selling business and they're like, I get that Wendy knows how to network. She knows how to connect with people. And Sam, well, she knows how to chat with someone she's never met before. But I don't know how to connect with people outside of my family and friends. So for somebody who's listening to this podcast that's thinking, I've got a direct selling business, I want to meet people outside of my existing network, what tip would you give them? What suggestions would you give them to start to build some relationships outside of their existing networks?
All right. So I'm hearing a couple of questions there. And one is, if I'm new to this, that may also mean you're new to sales.
Mm-hmm.
And so new to network marketing and new to sales may be the same, may be different. I often think that if you've already done sales, you need to be retrained in how to do network marketing and probably vice versa. The first thing to do is listen to podcasts like this. Take for every step that you take forward in learning, put it into practice. So you're listening to this right now. You're spending a half an hour listening to us. Go and spend a half an hour at a event that you can meet new people at and put some of this into practice. So the only way to get more comfortable with it is to sit in it, really. So I think that if you spend a half an hour watching a podcast, then go and find a half an hour where you can do this. Now, I'll give you an example. Sitting in the waiting room at my veterinarian. Now, I had a dog, and I thought, I want to meet the people who own this place. I have spent so much money with the veterinarian. I want to meet them. So what I did was I brought a couple of samples. And I went up to the receptionist to pay, and I said, listen, I'm not sure. This was a long time ago, before I was like at the level I'm at now. And I just said, listen, I'm not sure if you guys like candles, but I know that with my dog at home, I really like having different fragrances at home. And I thought that maybe you'd like to try some samples. And the receptionist was so excited. She said, oh, I love candles. I'm like, oh, cool. That was good. She goes, I think the girls will love them. she goes, I think the girls will love them too. And I'm like, the girls? I don't even know who the girls are. They're the owners, the two vets.
Okay.
Anyway, so I had brought 3 by chance, lucky, and she gave them to them. And for the last, I think, 12, 13 years, they have been some of my best customers and good referral partners. And that was through bravery. I,
Yep.
I was brave. I said, I'm not sure if you like candles, but I buy from you and I'd like to. So it was a chance. You take a chance.
Yep.
How many candles have I given away over the years that resulted in nothing but me feeling good about giving candles away? Hundreds, thousands probably. But it's the ones that resonate that I remember and that grow my business. If I
Yep.
don't take that chance. So for every person that you spend money with, maybe share with them what you do and take that brave step in saying, I'm not sure if this is for you or if it's for
Yep.
someone you know, but this is what I do. Now,
Yep.
I'm lucky. A candle, is this big and doesn't cost very much. You can't really give away a Thermomix and say, just try it first.
Yeah.
However,
Well, you
I've done,
could. I would accept one. I mean, we could take another Thermomix.
yeah. Oh,
Probably
you
wouldn't
did.
come. No,
You
yeah.
really did go shopping. Anyway.
Oh, you have no idea. Well, I know you do because you know how much I spent just with you. And that
Yeah.
was, you were one of 60. So Greg's cringing in the corner here, right?
so so I guess I want to say that when you do have a product or remember this, we all have a service too. I sell products for sure, but it's the knowledge about them that people crave. People want to know, how do I relax at home? What fragrances
Mm,
are right for that? What are the best things when I have children around? What are good things when I've got pets? How do I make sure that the dining room table looks absolutely amazing? What are
mm,
decorating tips? These things are services. And so that's just me. I can invite people to events where I simply go over home fragrance and decor tips. I'm not trying to sell them a thing. I could do a podcast about that, or I could do a video on my Facebook page. There are lots of things, and that can be translated to healthcare, can be translated to clothing, can be translated to lots of things,
mhm.
adding value through the service that we have, not just the products that we sell.
Yep. Love that. So good. Well, look, we have been chatting. It feels like a few minutes, but actually, we've been talking for quite some time. So it's time, I think, that we talk just before we finish up about the wax files. So, can you tell us a little bit about your website?
Oh, I'd love to. I'm so excited. So the waxfiles.com.au is my website that I've just recently launched this year, and it's an opportunity for me to blog. I have a blog on there, and that's called Waxing Lyrical, of course. And then I've also got a few products on sale, not my whole catalog, but a few bundles that I love to put together. I put together bundles, and I change those a
Nice.
little bit
Yep.
every few weeks or so. And then also, it's got hints and tips and then links to my social media. So what I want to share with you guys is the Wax Files on Facebook is actually not about PartyLite at all. But if you're a candle fan, you might want to join that group just to share pictures of candles. And they do not need to be candles that I sell, but candles that you either love, or we even have an ugly candle category so
I
that we
think I
can talk.
saw that. It was very
Yeah.
funny.
And also another one called Waxidents, in case you've spilled wax or done something. That'd be fun. We like to laugh and have a good time. So
Yeah.
that's attributed to that as well. And that's not about sales. That's about tribe. And I encourage you to do that as well. If you really like fashion, have a tribal
Yeah.
environment online so that you get people who are attracted to fashion, and have your business persona be the person who writes in it. So on the Wax Files on Facebook, Wendy the Candle Lady is the person who writes, not Wendy Lloyd Curley. So people, if they want to know, wow, this person really has a lot of information about candles, what's she about? Then they go to Wendy the Candle Lady, and then on Wendy the Candle Lady, they link to my website. So it's all sort of tied to each other.
Love it. So good. And it is a lot of fun in there. Get in there and check it out and have a look at the website. I was, even if you go in there and you think, well, I don't know if I want to buy anything. It's not about that. Obviously definitely buy from Wendy because she knows her stuff. But my point is that Wendy's also given me a bunch of information that I didn't know. I didn't know the correct ways. I didn't even know there was a correct way to burn a candle. But hey, there is. And I'm an expert with my pillar candle and, burning it out the right amount. And then I sort of give it its hug, just like you taught me. So
Yay.
if you want those tips, and you want to have a bit of a laugh and check out her blog and get in there and have a bit of a look at that. We'll put the link to both the Facebook group and also the website in the show notes for you guys so you can get in there and check that out. But thank you so much for joining us today, Wendy. There's just so much knowledge in there, and I feel like we've only kind of just gently scraped the surface. But hey, you know what? We can always come back and do this again. So it's a start, and I appreciate your help.
I want to thank you by being involved with you and by taking part in a few of your webinars, which I intended to do so that I could introduce you to my team. I learned so much from those as well. Lifelong learning is one of my core values, and I really always keep my ears open for new ideas. And my online parties went up a level after meeting you and having you come and watch mine, and it's been really great because now I can serve a national audience, which with a lot more confidence than before. So I appreciate you and what you guys have to offer too. You're a wealth of knowledge. So
thank you so much, Wendy. And it's great to hear that. And I think that's been the same for so many people out there. We've all been forced into having to grow a new skill, which is online selling. And so it's interesting times, but it's really great to see that so many people have embraced doing virtual parties and online events. And definitely, if you want to have an online event and you love candles and you feel like, you know what, I am Jessica, you need to contact Wendy. She'll have a party for you, and it's a lot of fun. So get in there and have a go. But thank you again so much, Wendy. Really appreciate your time today. And make sure you check out her website. Bye for now, guys.
Bye.